guys, here's a little quick fun video I decided to make that maybe I'll put on my political channel at some point that I'm hoping to make once I get a little bit bigger. Maybe I'll re-upload it there, but for right now, it's going to go on here. This is very different from anything I've ever done on this channel. It's a political video. Go figure, I literally just said that. Basically, I'm just looking at what my current projection for the 2028 presidential election is. So the current date is Saturday, March 1st, 2025. Donald J. Trump, our current president, was sworn in fucking, 2 months ago. Sometime 2 months ago. And he's been an incredibly controversial figure, of course, since he entered politics in 2015, or 2012, I think, is when he started discussing joining becoming the Republican Party contender for president, of course. But yeah, he's been in politics since 2000, but that's irrelevant. What the point is that he's been an incredible controversial figure from day one. He's been more far right than most have liked. He's done, of course, his infamous wall. He's built that wall, sort of. He won in 2016 in a huge upset against Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, of course. Then he lost to Joe Biden in 2020. Joe Biden tried to run against him again, but due to his age and declining mental health, his mental state.
with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
He dropped out of the race in June of 2020 or July of 2024. You all know this already, I assume. But yeah, and then his Vice President Kamala Harris took up the reins. Donald Trump won by larger margin than he did in 2016. He lost the popular vote in 2016 as well and won it this time by under 1%, I believe. Under 1 point. 77 to 75 million. That is a Discord notification, so sorry about that. I don't feel like editing that out. I don't care. But yeah. So, Donald Trump is the president now. No matter how you may feel about him. I don't love him as a person. I don't think I think I prefer Biden, personally. But, here we are. Yesterday, we had something involving Zelensky. It was on February 28th, my birthday. But now I'm going to look at a scenario which is maybe possible, maybe likely. Vice President Kamala Harris, who ran for president in 2024, of course, versus Vice President J.D. Vance, Donald J. Trump's, I don't know why I said his middle name, Donald Trump's vice president, who has been often seen as the successor to President Trump. So let's, of course, start with the safe Democratic states. Just going safe Democratic because I have her before Vance here. It's whatever. So those are, of course, the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, New York. These are all big states. Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., and Hawaii, of course. I'm not classifying New Jersey because of what happened this year. If you don't know what happened this year, Trump gained about 10 points in New Jersey this year over 2020. He lost by 16 points in 2020 and only lost by, I think, 5 or 6 this year, or last year, I guess, technically. There was a big red wave this year, I'd say. Now let's look at the Republican safe states. Utah, which I do think could change to a likely state, which is the second shade in the future. It's been trending more to the left in recent years. It was one of the only states which almost didn't have a rightward shift this year. Washington was the other one. And then, of course, you have Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, arguably, Nebraska's 3rd district, and Nebraska. Oh, right, for Kamala, she also gets Maine's 1st district safe. Safe I consider to be winning by a margin of over 15 points, which didn't happen in some of these states this year. Oregon, I believe, didn't have that happen. New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, Illinois, but that's okay. What else is there? Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and South Carolina. South Carolina and Indiana are a bit iffy with that, but overall, what does it matter? As for the likely states, which is, in my opinion, 5 to 12, a margin of 5 to 15 points. We have Colorado. Joe Biden won that by 14 points, and Kamala won it by 10 or 12 or something in 2024. New Mexico. That narrowed down more than the Democratic Party likely would have liked this year, but it's okay. This is going to be a different scenario. I don't think J.D. Vance realistically will ever be as popular as Donald Trump. Nebraska's 2nd district, which has Omaha and Lincoln, the city of Lincoln, in it, which makes it more Democratic than Republican. It was won by Kamala. It was lost by Hillary in 2016. It was the only major state flip between the two in 2016 and 2024. Kamala failed to flip a single county or state in 2024, fun fact. But Minnesota is going to go back into likely. It was lean this year, which means that... shit. But I think that it's going back into likely this year. I mean, not this year, it's 2028. Because this year was a big red wave, and I don't expect that to happen with Mr. Vance. I think that he has very little charisma compared to Trump. I don't love Trump, like I said, but he's got more riz than J.D. Vance does. New Jersey, I think, is going to be likely. I don't think there's any chance that it flips anytime soon, but it's going to be less safe, I think. New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a more red state in the Northeast. The last time it went red was in 2000, but it came very close in 2016. I think Maine at large, just the state of Maine as a whole, will be like that. It's almost always like that, and Virginia will be likely blue. Virginia's been actually trending more to the left than a lot of these states have. It just didn't have that same shift this year. Now for the Republican likely states, I feel like many people already know this, but Nebraska's 1st district, it's not quite as red as the 3rd. The 3rd district is the most red area in the country in terms of places with electoral votes. D.C. is the most blue. Nebraska's 3rd went by like 76 points. 76% Republican in 2024. D.C. was like 90% Democratic, so it was pretty crazy. But what else? Kansas. Kansas has been experiencing a more left-leaning shift over the last few years because of areas like Topeka, or not Topeka, the one here, like that little western part of Kansas City. Kansas City's in Missouri, fun fact. Missouri has 2 very left-leaning places right here, Kansas City and St. Louis, but yeah, Texas, likely. Everybody knows, I think, at this point, that Texas has been shifting to the left a little bit over recent times, but it's not going to flip anytime soon still, I don't think. Alaska has been more left-leaning in recent years. It had a blue representative at one point. Florida has actually been trending to the right, but it's still going to be likely. It's not going to be safe anytime soon, I don't think. Maine's 2nd district's been trending to the right. I think that's going to be very likely to go to the Republican Party. Ohio is going to be likely. Ohio's been trending to the right, and I think Iowa is going to be likely. Iowa, there's a big story. I'm sure you probably heard of it if you paid attention to the 2024 election. There was like a poll released by an accurate pollster, Ann Seltzer. She released a poll that said that Iowa was actually being led by the Democrats, which was not correct. Iowa went more red than it did in 2020 by like 10 points or something. Not 10, like 5. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be flipping for a while. Maybe in a couple decades if we're lucky. I guess not if we're lucky, but if the Democratic Party is lucky. Anyways, I think in terms of the lean Democratic states, well, these are the core 7, of course. The core 7 swing states that decide every election, unfortunately. 226 is how many electoral votes Kamala got in 2024. So in terms of those lean Democratic states, we're going to have, in my opinion, Wisconsin and Michigan are basically guaranteed to be Democratic. Especially Wisconsin. Wisconsin was barely Republican this year. And Michigan is generally just more left-leaning, even if it did flip this in 2024. I'm going to leave the very big ones for last, but I think that North Carolina is going to be lean Republican, and I think Arizona is going to be lean Republican. Arizona actually got very red in 2024. It was likely, technically. It was a margin of 5 or 6 points or something this year, but I think that's going to go back down to below 5. Lean for me is 1 to 5 points. I think Arizona's been having a bit of a leftward shift in recent years, and I don't think that's just going to change. So now, for the core 3, in my opinion, for this election are going to be Nevada, Pennsylvania, my home state, and Georgia. I'll just go from smallest to largest. Nevada. This one's a bit hard for me to predict, because I thought for sure that it was going to go blue in 2024, and then it didn't. It flipped. And that was pretty crazy. I did not expect to see that happen. So, I feel like, if I recall, Trump's been having he's not had a very good approval rating in Nevada. So I'm going to give it to Vance, but barely. Like, that means this is tilt, which means it's a margin of under 1 point. Like, Wisconsin was tilt in 2024. It was like 0.5% in favor of Trump. What's next? Georgia. I think Georgia's hard, because Georgia has been seeing a big shift to the left because of the Atlanta suburbs, right around there. They've been all going very hard to the left. If you look at like a shift map from 2024, there was a huge leftward shift in Atlanta, but it still did flip from 2020. 2020, it flipped very unexpectedly, in my opinion, and it led to a lot of controversy. And I think it's going to be tilt Republican as well, which means it really does come down to the wire. It's 270 to win. They're 268 on the Republican side right now. They're 538 in total, which means it comes down to Pennsylvania. I live there. I know more about it than I know about a lot of these states. I think that it's going to be tilt Democratic. And I think that if, in this scenario, if it was Kamala Harris versus J.D. Vance, I think Kamala Harris would very slightly win. Like, this is like if one faithless elector, which means like an elector from the Electoral College chooses someone else, which happened in 2016, I think that means that, it would be 269 to 269, which means, or not 269, 269, 268, and then one for some other candidate, which means that it would be tied, and it would go to the House, and if the House, and it would also go, it would go to the House, and if the House was still controlled by the Republicans, which I don't think it will be, because the Democrats only need 3 seats to flip the House, and they usually, in incumbent midterms, which we have one in 2026, usually it's a much more than 3 seats that go to the party that's not currently in the White House. So I think the Democrats will take control of the House. But yeah, this is gonna be an interesting election if this happens. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this. I know this is very different from what I usually do, like completely different, but yeah. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.